Hey, it's me, Sam, and it's Monday morning. A very sunny morning today, thankfully. So this conversation with Corinna was recorded yesterday, and it was a lovely, casual Sunday morning chat. It was very light-hearted, and we had a few laughs and smiles. But we talked about some very serious subjects, and mostly detransition, what that means to us at this time in our lives. We're both exploring it, which I was surprised about because I didn't know Corinna was doing that. So she shares some of that journey, and yeah, we go all over the place. And I hope you find some value in this and some entertainment. I really enjoyed it. I don't know whether I'll do any more of these. I only reached out to Corinna and asked her to do this because somebody requested it and said that they found a lot of value in our previous conversations, the ones that I deleted with everything else about, I think, 8 or 9 months ago. I think I deleted maybe 50 videos. But I thought we could do better than the previous ones anyway, and I think we have. So I hope this helps. And yeah, like I said, we may do more. I don't know. Okay. Enjoy, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Yeah. But bear with
Well,
me because I'm a little bit nervous.
no, and you and I have spoken a couple of times without being
Yeah, yeah,
recorded.
yeah. So I'll just pretend this. I'll pretend we're not recording. We'll just carry on anyway. So,
That's perfect.
so what did you want to? What did you want to talk about?
Well, what's interesting is actually this isn't interesting. It's about me, so it's less than interesting. Um, I wrote a thread on Twitter a few days ago that was about trying to understand what the word detransition means.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I'm trying to work out is to what extent, how close am I to meeting the definition of detrans? Because I no longer identify as a woman. I use the term transsexual because it's descriptive of some choices that I made to alter my body. And I think those alterations are because they're meant to alter the appearance of my sex, that it creates some ambiguity. And I no longer am trying to achieve any goal for feminization. The HRT dose that I'm on it's estrogen, but it is aimed at maintaining the minimum level to maintain bone growth. So I'm not, despite whatever happens when I go to the clinic and talk, and they're talking about feminization goals, I have to keep explaining, no, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that I can maintain my bone health. And I no longer care whether people see me as male or female. I don't have any sort of, I'm fine embracing whatever people think of me. That's fine. So I'm trying to work out what is detransition, because we know that for transition, there's a hugely social element to it. And what I'll assert is that without the social aspect, you're not even meaningfully transgender. Like, even if you identify as transgender, if you're not participating in some sort of social aspect of it and gaining affirmation as your target sex, at least, it doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to be from other trans people. But if you're not trying to demand that people see or integrate you as a member of the opposite sex, then at some point you're just gender non-conforming.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to really understand and separate out what detransition is, the social parts of it, the physical parts of it, the maybe even the legal parts of it. Legally, on my birth certificate, I'm male, but on my driver's license, I'm female. So, I guess I'm legally non-binary without even having an X
Yeah.
anywhere. So that's clever of me. And what desistance is, because there are some people who,
Yeah.
in the trans community right now, if you say, I am trans, and you don't assume any signifiers of being trans, like uh, changing your haircut or dressing in different clothes or changing your name. If you don't adopt any signifiers, you can still be part of the trans community. So what does it take to desist at that point if you don't even adopt any signifiers, but you still call yourself trans, right?
Yeah.
So the definition of trans is so loose that for people who spend any amount of time describing themselves as trans, is there even a way that you can meaningfully detransition?
Yeah,
Some,
no, I agree with all of that. I mean, that's what I'm facing at the moment. It's just, I just, I felt so confined by the whole thing. I just don't really want to. And there's a kind of deception about it as well. And I've always felt like, in some sense, I think people are generally really well intentioned and kind, but I've always detected that there is a kind of, they are conforming in some way to what they think is a need in me. So I that's mostly why I don't really want to be referred to as she anymore, and I don't really want. That's why I'm changing my name to a more masculine name, because I just don't want to feel like I'm encouraging other people to collude in something that's not true. So, but you and I have transitioned a long time ago, so we are in a situation where, what does it even mean to detransition? So just changing my name and kind of masculinizing my appearance a little bit, is pretty much all I can do. And I think that for me, that feels less disruptive. It feels less disruptive to other people. It feels more honest. But then I'm in a situation where I can't legally detransition because I won't qualify for hormones. So it's a like you said, with your passport you're male, and your driving license you're female. There's no clear path. There's no kind of clear solution to people who want to just be a bit more honest about things, you know. And I never even called myself trans anything until I started writing for my blog either. So, and then I just called myself, like you, a transsexual, because it describes what I've done, really. But I didn't really think of myself as anything anymore, you know? It's a really funny place to be, because I don't know how to define myself anymore, or even if it's necessary. It feels much easier to just say, I'm a man that looks like a woman. And that's it. That's it, basically. And just kind of partition off the whole kind of legal thing, because I need the legal to still be female, because otherwise I can't get hormones. And like you say, I don't really care about feminizing anymore. It feels familiar, but I'm more worried about health. That's it. What's healthy, that's it. I was looking into eunuchs the other day. I went down a rabbit hole one night looking into the Chinese palace eunuchs from not that long ago, and the health issues that they used to have were pretty serious.
oh, really?
Yeah, but like to do with bone density and degradation of posture and spine and things like that.
Oh,
But
really?
their lifespans were longer, but that might have been because they had easier lives. They weren't sort of working in the fields or anything. They were quite trusted, obviously, because they didn't have any genitals. And then I found this sect in Russia, a Christian sect, that believed that breasts on a woman and genitals on a man were, the cause of humanity's fall, and so they would remove their genitals completely with a hot poker, and the women would remove their breasts, and they had bone density issues and posture and skeletal degradation, and it's I mean, we painted ourselves into a corner where we need to maintain what we've done, but I did have conflict about that, but I'm resigned to the fact that I need to keep taking hormones, and that's it. So there's nothing I can do about it. How do you feel about, would you make any changes? I mean, I've just cut my hair and I'm going to get my breast implants taken out, but that's it, really. That's all I can do.
Any changes? Well, that's a really good question. So I guess I haven't really talked about this publicly, and I've been afraid to, because I think people have such a simplified and nuanced view of anything. But there's a detransition community that I've been hanging out with, and I have gone out into public a couple of times, deliberately having a more... This sounds really stupid to say because I know how much all of this is a game, but I went and got an outfit that's a men's outfit.
Oh, wow.
And I've gone to a couple of different social things.
Oh my God, that's huge. How did you feel?
Well, all right, so this is funny probably, but the trousers are really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I've been on estrogen for so long that men's trousers are meant to fit men's bodies.
They're really unflattering, aren't they? When you put on a pair of men's trousers and you've got a more female shape, they just look awful.
They look awful and they feel awful.
Yeah.
So the second time I went out, I just wore women's trousers that had a very simple style to them, so that they could be match either outfit.
Yeah.
And it was fine. One of the events that I went to was the local trans pride event.
Oh, right.
And it was sort of funny because at this point, do you remember when trans was transgressive?
Yeah. Well, it has been for about 100 years, or longer, hundreds of years.
It is, but it's not very transgressive right now at this period of
No.
where the world's at.
Yeah.
And me being a feminized male, dressing in men's clothes, going to a trans event with a lot of people that are wearing like over the top pink and blue and white outfits was pretty interesting.
I live in hiking boots, jeans, and army surplus. I don't feel any different. Well, maybe slightly different to how I did when I was, much younger, dressing in a more feminine manner. I don't feel any less feminine in myself, or any less less of a male that's transitioned. I don't feel like that threatens anything I gained from transition, but it I don't feel any different in that sense. But it's just more practical. But I mean, God, that's huge. And
well, it's like I said, it's sort of dumb to even talk about because at least 3 out of 7 days of the week, I'm going to be wearing jeans, which jeans are jeans. I'm not wearing fashion jeans for the most part, just jeans. And then some sort of t-shirt. T-shirts are unisex. Not all t-shirts, but this has a scoop neck. So this is...
It depends how deep your V is.
More feminine.
If a man wore this, I think he was a little suspect, possibly a homosexual. I'm joking.
Are you coming out right now?
Yeah.
Um, so the clothing that I wear on a day-to-day basis is already not, it's not over the top feminine at all. It's already unisex for the most part. That's very typical for me to have just a unisex clothing, and what else? If I'm trying to have other visible signifiers about the only thing that is not blatantly unisex is that I wear a bag because it has all my stuff in it. So
What about your hair?
my hair. This isn't really masculine to you.
Not
I was
really.
going for like a 80s.
I feel,
I'm gonna.
I feel liberated having my hair cut. I feel really liberated. But I don't feel. I feel less self-conscious, actually, a lot less self-conscious, and I feel like it was a good thing to do, and because now, if I'm looking quite ambiguous and I've got a big winter coat on, I don't have to feel like I've got to sort of complete the picture for people if they're confused about how to read me, and so they might read me as female or male. And if I've got longer hair, I tend to kind of lift my voice a little bit and do it for the other people, otherwise it's just confusing. But now I don't know, it just, everything feels like it's kind of beginning to line up in a much more honest way, that I'm not manipulating reality anymore. It's just a haircut, and what you're talking about is just clothes. But
That's right.
it just seems so trivial, but it isn't. It isn't. It really isn't. It's just because what we look like dictates how people treat us, and it's like you need to tell people what they need to know, or show people what they need to know before they even know how to be with you. And it's like I want to liberate myself from that whole thing and just say, read me how you read me. And it's just, I'm okay with being a feminine looking man now. I feel much better about the whole thing.
Well, look at us, just a couple of fellows hanging out, talking about women's clothing.
Oh my God, I haven't worn a dress in, God, 10 years. I've got upstairs, I've got a box like this big, like
Yeah.
of handmade shoes, and heels, like 4-inch heels, tons of heels and boots and things I haven't worn for, God, I don't know, 13 years, 14 years. But it does seem trivial, but I don't think it is, really. I mean, we just want it, like you wrote underneath a video ages ago, well, a few weeks ago, me like sharing my angst about letting go, and you just said be. And for me, be means, not trying to manipulate other people's perception of you, and just kind of just let it all go. And it's liberating, really liberating. So do you think you're going to take it any further?
Possibly. On this detrans space where I'm hanging out, I am using so my documentation says that my name is Corinna. That's my legal name. But my mom calls me Corey.
Was that your name?
Yes.
Oh, that's a lovely name.
Yeah, I didn't have to change it, did I?
Yeah, I couldn't
It's
change my
already
name
gender
back.
neutral.
I didn't want to. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, because I thought about going back to my name that I was given. I was talking to Tulip. I had a conversation with Tulip the other day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and he made a really interesting point because he started to use his old name, and he said, "Well, it's not really ours to change. It's that's why it's called your given name. It's given to you." So I did think about changing my name back to the one I was given when I was a kid, but it's just I don't think there's anything wrong with choosing a new name for a new season of your life, and as that begins, I think it's that's it feels liberating. I don't think I could go back. There's just too much baggage, far too much baggage, far too much history, and there is with Maya, and I didn't even realise that until I let go. I really didn't realise just how entangled I felt I was in the last 25 years. I just felt so imprisoned by the whole thing. And like just using a different name, it just feels so liberating. And it's funny, these like psychological games we play with ourselves unconsciously, and yeah.
So, would it be accurate to say that you're feeling some non-gender euphoria?
I don't know.
Do you think
Yeah.
do you think more seriously that there's any way to connect the feelings that you're talking about right now with the feelings that people experience when they start transition?
No, because I thought about that as well, because that's why I didn't want to make a thing out of it. Like, because I jokingly said I was going to do a name change video. It's not about becoming anything. It's not transitioning to something. It's not about. It's not even about going back to something. It's not like reacquiring masculinity and stuff. Putting on a fake mustache and dressing in combats. I dress in combats anyway, but it's about letting go. It's about letting go of. I remember what it was like when I first changed, and how scared I was. And there just seemed to be so much to learn, and so much to about. There seemed to be so much to learn in providing the right signals to people, so they didn't feel uncomfortable and they knew how to be around you. And I think gradually, I just adapted to that, and it became a kind of second nature. But I didn't realise how much of a performance that had become. And so it's more about letting go than about reacquiring something like masculinity. And yeah, that's how it feels. It's not euphoria about becoming something like it. What was your transition like? Mine was exciting and transformative, and obviously
I don't know. I was an
you were
awkward
so young.
teenager, so there was nothing. I was already going through a different transition anyway into adulthood, so
Yeah,
I can't unwind or unwrap all of those things that were happening
yeah,
simultaneously.
yeah. Do you think you were hiding? This is my word that I've been playing with at the moment.
Hiding.
Hiding.
No, I don't think that that's the right word to describe what I was doing.
And what would be the right word?
I think I was trying to. I wasn't hiding. I think I was trying to find my place,
This
because
is
when you're bullied your
yeah,
whole childhood, you're one of the we call it bullying, but I think another way that we could think about it is bullying is a process of preventing somebody from having a place.
yeah.
You're keeping them from attaining any sort of position in the hierarchy apart from being at the bottom of it.
And that is the place that they want you, because
Yes.
being bullied, it's this strange kind of thing in male settings, where you have let me just frame this first of all. When I lived on the island, money was, on an island you were really limited for work. So I had to get a job at one point on a building site I think I was 40 then. Was I 40? No, it must have been 43, in my early 40s anyway.
Mm.
And you know, let's say 44-year-old tranny working on a building site with a Glaswegian work crew who I tricked them for some of the time until somebody locally told them that I was trans, and that's when the bullying started. And it was kind of like unspoken, and so they didn't acknowledge that they knew, but they bullied me, and it was really awful. But even before that happened, I could see the hierarchy is exactly like the school playground, and these guys are in their 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, and it's all exactly like the school playground. There is this beaten down older guy who everybody treated like shit, and it's like they're still in one group and they've all got their roles. You've got the dominant male, the followers, and then you've got the bully, and then you've got the people that don't get involved. They don't speak about it. They just ignore it. But it's definitely there, and even the bullied person has his place. And it was so strange to observe it all. But it's awful.
Like a pen full of cocks.
Yeah.
Or roosters, depending on how you...
I wrote something down. Did you reveal something, or did you become something? Did you reveal what was there already in you as a sensitive male that just wore womanness as a strategy, or did you become that?
Again, I was going through... I was becoming an adult. I was doing all of this while becoming an adult, so I can't even think about it that way.
Yeah.
I had... I guess I'm just going to talk about the hierarchy again. I saw it as a way to be in a flatter hierarchy.
And is that how you think of like female groups? Is that there's a different hierarchy? There's a different kind of structure.
Yeah, I think it's flatter.
Still difficult at times though. There's still bullies. There's still
yeah.
outsiders. There's still bitchiness and cruelty like you don't get in a male group. And that's my
I agree with that.
anyway. Yeah.
Although there's definitely cruelty in male group.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. I think. I mean, when I look back on it, like in the last video I made, it's funny how each video is like, I say to myself, right, this is it. I'm going to say everything I need to say in this video, and then that's it. I don't need to say anything else. But every time I say it, it's like it pulls it out and it creates some space, and then I can see there's some movement and I can see something else. And it just sort of becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. And, you know, my motivations and what it was all about. And, you know, that kind of inversion of being bullied and being clearly an outsider to then actually being kind of having attention and protection from men, and I think that was a huge part of it, to invert that whole scenario. And it's just, I think, do you ever, how do you feel about being in a male group now? Would you be resilient enough and wise enough and old enough to navigate that if you could be in an all-male group? Could you do that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to have to find out through experience.
I clearly failed when I worked on the building site. Yeah. But that was a while ago. Maybe I'd be a bit better now. I doubt it, though.
I've been on software development teams that are all male, where I was the only male with a feminine name. And those are okay, right? But in a small group, I'm able to compensate for my strangeness by having a certain amount of talent or intelligence that helps me navigate that.
It's context as well, isn't it? I mean, it's in a work setting, there are certain kind of rules, but yeah, I think that's one thing I'd kind of fear a little bit, but that fear is just diminishing sort of daily as I kind of move away from this last part of my journey, but how men, I didn't want to change that dynamic with men that seemed so valuable to me and seems so valuable, but I think I worried a little bit about that being sort of being related to as a man. There's a guy he lives in the local area. He knows what I'm going through, and he and I talk fairly regularly. And he sort of like calls me he and treats me like a guy. And it's like, I don't know whether he has this expectation that because I'm sort of changing my name and I'm going to get something I've been talking about for a year now, but when I can afford it, these are going, and it's just, I don't know whether what he thinks I'm suddenly going to revert back to, and be all right with getting slapped on the back and being all matey and blokey. That's just not going to be how it is. But I don't actually like it when people relate to me like that. I don't like it when men are like that with me. I don't like that.
I was doing some shopping yesterday at a hardware store. So I'm going to do some painting around here. And there were a couple of guys that were in the painting supply area, and I needed to get past them. And I was just wearing normal street clothes. I was not trying to have a outwardly feminine appearance at all. And I just realized how uncomfortable I was trying to interact with them, because they were just sort of talking to each other, but they were talking to each other in front of the thing that I needed to get to. And I was just like, do I wait for them? Can I ask them to move? And if I ask them to move, like, how do
My strategy was just to be super, super confident. That was my strategy always, to be super confident. But then that just kind of built this massive ego and just this mask. I just pretended I was super confident. I would just push right in front of them and just ask them to move or something. And it didn't care if they read me as a tranny or not. I mean, that wasn't important, but just to show that I didn't care. And it's just all masking fear. But
I just don't have a good, even as old as I am now, 29 again, I still don't have a good strategy for, a couple of guys who are, rugged work dudes. Like, excuse me, can you please get out of my way? I need to get the thing that you're standing in front of.
I think people respond to you as self-assuredness, don't they? There's something attractive about that in a person as well, like when there's that stillness. But God, that takes time, and I'm not sure I have it. I have it sometimes, but it might just be fake in situations like that. It probably is,
Well, the thing that I don't want to do is be noticed, right?
I don't care about that anymore.
Well, I mean, I don't want to create a social interaction with. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I go through periods where that's how I feel. If I'm not, I feel less like that now than ever before, really, I think. But yeah, I know what you mean.
If it's one-on-one, it's different, but
why would that be though? Do you feel threatened if there was those two guys and you had to ask them to move?
Yes, I think that's right. I think that's how I feel.
What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know what could happen. I've had experiences in the past where people can surprisingly become somewhat aggressive or belligerent.
I see. I worry more about women. In the past, where I was ever in that sort of situation, I would feel kind of with guys. I never used to worry because I know that I never passed all the time, but I passed out. Even if I didn't pass, I looked okay, and that was like a defense to kind of look attractive. And so I know that guys are, if you just look attractive, it doesn't matter. They kind of go, oh yeah, fine, it's
All right.
okay.
Well, that makes sense. That's probably why I'm so worried about it. Then,
Oh, stop it.
Sam.
But I always felt more more self-conscious around women. If I had to ask women to move in that situation, I'd feel kind of like, I always used to get this feeling like I was just some silly boy dressed as a woman. And it's because some women can be quite cruel and quite kind of like look you up and down like, oh my god, what are you doing? And that can make you feel like this high. I've had that before, where some woman just kind of looks at me like that with a screwed up face, like, what are you doing? That's awful. But yeah, when I say attractive, I don't mean kind of like, just. I just think.
Yeah, that's sort of interesting.
What do you mean? Which bit?
Well, your sexual orientation is you're androphilic, right?
Attracted to men.
Yes.
I've had relationships with women when I was. I've had relationships with men and women, post and pre-op, but they're very different. It feels kind of like much more harmonious to be with a guy. My last long relationship was with a woman, and they always end up, even when I was young, pre-op, they always end up as being just intimate friendships. But with men, it's kind of like it's a much more of a harmonious kind of thing, and yeah. But why did you bring that up?
Well, because if you're more comfortable, you said that your defense sort of is
to be flirty, really.
Right. Yeah.
I've never been punched in the face yet. I don't have doubt in those situations. I don't have doubt. I don't have doubt. I bumped into a forestry guy in the village last week. This made me think about, oh my God. So if I start telling everybody to call me he, and my name is Sam, can I still behave in the same way? Because I bumped into this guy in the village, and he knows what I am, but we had a hug, and and it was you read the energy, and he treats me like he knows what I am, but he treats me in the same way as he would treat a woman, or he at least is willing to give me the generosity of acceptance because he knows I'm trans, and I don't know whether I'll have to develop a different strategy. So all right, shake his hand or something. I don't know. It's just all stupid. It sounds just so trivial, really.
Well, how about we talk for a second about, because we've been 29 each of us for a decade or more now.
Yeah. I'm older than you. I'm 7 years older than you, aren't I?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
I don't look a day older than you, really, apart from my wrinkles.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Grey hair.
A little grey hair, yeah. But apart from that,
chicken neck.
Okay. Well, aside from those three things, hardly any difference. And I'm getting there. I've got a few gray hairs now that I didn't have the last time we recorded, in fact. So
really,
yeah, it's happening finally.
It'll be over soon. Then you can just have the ultimate relief.
Oh yes,
that's really morbid, isn't it? I sometimes think like that though.
Wait, the ultimate relief?
Yeah, just when it's all over.
Oh, I thought you were talking about just becoming like socially invisible.
No, dead.
Oh no, that's.
Okay, sorry, we're going all over the place. We're supposed to be really focused on what is detransition, but
sure. Yeah, well, I wanted to recontextualize our conversation.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I think for you and I, who've walked around the planet for a few decades, we might have a perspective that's different from somebody who started transition, say within the last decade or so.
Yeah.
And that means that they're part of a completely different cohort where...
Yeah, totally.
You and I adjusted to a world where there weren't very many trans people in it. So we didn't have this huge, ready, on-demand supply of affirmation for us, or that was building us up, or was giving us a very strong sense of our entitlements. We were figuring out where we had to bend and conform to the world.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're thinking about somebody who transitioned post 2012, they have a different landscape.
Completely.
And possibly a different set of concerns related to detransition.
What do you mean? Because they're so far, we're so far gone. And what
That's
do you
right.
mean? What do you see the difference? I mean, we can't like you said in the beginning. What does it even mean? It's just, have we already detransitioned? Because we're not telling ourselves a story anymore, and we don't require anybody to collude in some kind of delusion of. If I ever needed that, I don't think. So what do you see the differences as?
Well, I guess there are a few things that come to mind. One of them would be that for somebody who was only partly through physical transition, I guess. These are like the old person terms, because we used to think that you used the word pre-op earlier and post-op, and that used to be
Yeah.
the framing for transition. It's
Back
not
in the old days, yeah.
back in
Well,
the old days.
I remember when it was just you either a transvestite or a transsexual, and that was it. And it was that simple. And I think it was like much, much easier in those days. Like you had like transvestites at one end, transsexuals at the other end, very feminine gay men who were weekend warriors. And it was just
Blokes.
a lot easier in those days to kind of, differentiate. Now it's like, I don't even know. I stay out of the whole thing.
There's the man who Maya Forstater had a conflict with is a bearded dude who was upset because Maya said that hypothetically that she wouldn't use alternate preferred pronouns for him,
Ridiculous.
and he filed a complaint about it, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's just games. It's all
Yeah,
games.
it's bullshit.
But
Sorry. Anyway, sorry. I
yeah,
keep
yeah,
interrupting you.
No, so for somebody who's not had vaginoplasty, or maybe hasn't had breast implants or facial feminization surgery, like each one of those things that you do is harder to. Well, you can't undo it. You can't practically undo it. Well, breast augmentation you can, but if you have breast growth, you can't just stop taking HRT and not have. They're not balloons that'll deflate if you wait long enough. It's permanently part of your body now. So, but the fewer steps that you've done towards medicalization, the more you can sort of resume having a normal, socially integrated experience as a man. So I wonder, how do we feel like positionally? Well, let me try to work this out. I'm thinking on my feet here.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna make an assertion and let's test it.
At least you're being coherent.
Yeah, it's because the coffee's finally kicking in.
Yeah.
First of all, let me say I don't think that there is a meaningful detransition community, and I think that maybe the worst thing that could happen is if there is this permanent participation in something called a detransition community. I don't think it's healthy for people to.
No.
When you become trans, there used to be a thing that you'd become stealth, and that was a disassociation from the trans community as well. Because even if you had a few trans friends, you wouldn't be doing trans pride stuff, right? You'd be trying to move on with your life. And I think to the greatest extent possible, that if you're able to do that with detransition, that's probably the healthiest thing.
Should be a stepping
Because
stone, really. You don't want to get
yes,
stuck in a community because you're just ghettoizing your life in the same way as you did when you know, it's just another ideology in some sense. It's another kind of tribal setting, and or another. It's like being an outsider again and saying, look, I'm just in this community. You need to integrate and just,
right.
get on. Yeah.
But I don't think you or I are going to do that as easily as somebody who just took estrogen for 6 months.
I've never integrated anywhere anyway, so I've always been an outsider. I was never really kind of part of the trans community anyway, but I just kind of, I've always been a man. At some part of my life, I was a boy. In my young male life, I was a man that looked like a man. And I've been, for the last 25 years, a man that looks like a woman. I'm still a man. And now I'm going to be a man that looks slightly less like a woman, but still a man. And I'm just going to be who I am. And that's all I need to that's how I think of the whole thing. So I'm not part of any community apart from the human community.
So if you go into a software store and they call you ma'am, you're not going to kick over in boxes and go, "It's sir."
No.
It's sir. Stop calling me ma'am. It's sir.
No. No.
I'm going to.
Are you? Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think I'm pretty lucky, really, because I've just kind of never really belonged anywhere, which is really tragic for most of my life. But I'm starting to realise what a blessing it is, really. Yeah, I just, that's why I can't. I don't really. There's some people that have made comments under my older videos saying that I have a responsibility to say certain things and involve myself in a certain way in this whole conversation. I just think I'm just so not equipped. I'm not you. I'm I've got my own way of doing things, and I'm just kind of, I'm just not able to involve myself in the same way as more articulate and knowledgeable people such as yourself are. I've got a friend in Australia, a trans man, Kevin, who's so knowledgeable about different aspects of this whole thing, and I'm like, God, I feel like a kid when I talk to you or him because my life just seems so trivial and kind of self-serving, to be honest, as a survival strategy. And I do feel quite selfish, and I do think my contribution is doing it my way, but and I think that we're all helping in our own way to sort of like say, like especially you and I say, look, it's not a disaster if you've done this and you have regrets, or it's not a disaster. It really isn't. And I'm very, very conscious of the journey I've been on since I've known you and since I've had the channel is this gradual emergence. It's an emergence from not allowing myself to even face the fact that there was a possibility I could live any other way than doing trans woman. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I see people. I saw a documentary with Walt Heyer and a couple of other older trans people in it, and they were like, "Well, I did it 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I might as well just stay as I am." I just think, well, fine if that works for you, but I think we should just not fear to let it go, not fear to be strange, not fear to be a man who looks like a woman, but not fear to just step into uncharted territory and just see.
That's all fine and good until you need to go take a shower in public.
Don't take a shower in public. Do you know? I when I was younger, back in the old days, I used disabled toilets, and because I didn't want to, if I wasn't sort of dressed overtly femininely, I didn't want to make women feel uncomfortable. You don't get everything you want in life. Compromise. If you have to use a disabled toilet, or you can't use you can't go to a swimming swimming pool, public swimming pool. So what? Adapt. That's why we're in this position, is because people are demanding to get everything they want. You don't get everything you want in life. You
But
don't.
I'm entitled to it. I deserve it.
Isn't that
And
the same thing, though?
if other people don't claim it,
Oh, yeah, I
gotta
see
get
your
other
point,
people's
yeah.
stuff. I gotta take other people's stuff.
Are you being sarcastic? Are you being very
No,
dry? You're making a
no.
point.
I'm making a point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. I do. I acknowledge that there is that is a perspective that has validity. I shall give you that. But
Yeah. And by valid, do you mind if I fill that out a bit?
sure.
Because by valid, it means that that's a perspective that some people assert, and by doing so, now you have to contend with it. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's right or,
Yeah.
justifiable, but it
So
means that when people do it, it now creates something that other people have to navigate.
But this statement that you've just made, is that any different to Leah Thomas saying that she has a right to?
No, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah. It's complicated, isn't it? How do we sort this out, Corinna?
Well, we don't.
Yeah.
We just hang around and wait for the smart people to figure it out.
I think yeah. I mean, you were on the call last night as well, and I just when I think about the mess that we're in, to quote Glinner, and
Yep.
we are in a mess.
It wasn't that call.
No, I know it wasn't.
Right.
But it's just. I think that us focusing. What else are we going to focus? We're going to focus on our little niche of understanding, and that's cool, and that's fine, and that's our contribution to add some experience and for what it's worth, our assessment of some kind of meaningful advice from our own experience. But I don't see the trans movement and its impact on as a destabilizing element of society as a lot of other things that are going on. It's a big fucking mess in many different ways, and so there's a lot of other things that need sorting out as well. It's not just this, but so I don't think you're going to be able to sort out the trans movement and its impact on young people without sorting out a few other things as well.
Yeah, that's really complicated.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's a big mess.
Because among the things that need to be sorted out are how to put this. The reason that we're here right now is because there's been a lot of institutional
Yeah.
Support or rearrangement to make this possible.
Yeah.
And part of the sorting out is going to have to be figuring out how to make those institutions more resilient against this type of social tampering.
Yeah, but it's the philosophy behind the whole thing. It's not the way that I look at it in my very basic childlike way is that there is a huge multi-generational push to change how we think of ourselves as entities. That is what I think is fundamentally the purpose of the whole thing. And then you have those ideas being insinuated into the education system, into entertainment, into healthcare, and then just financed. And it's basically, that's it. So you pushing back against one part of it, it just, unless there's a massive sea change and upswelling of people who just say, no, this is completely wrong, it's not going to change, I don't think.
There will be that upswelling, I think, Maya, and
do you think so?
I think it's going to be bad for you and me.
You think so?
Yeah, I think
in what
it's going
sense?
to. I
Tarred and feathered in the street.
don't think we'll be tarred and feathered in the street. But we're seeing, this is completely predictable, by the way. I've been saying this for probably 4 or 5 years now. That, yeah, probably since Trump. So what is that, 6 years now? Is that it's really clear that there's a populist uprising. It's nationalistic. It's right wing. It's conservative. And I think that because there's been such a rapid erosion of social boundaries that and that they're getting to the point where the things that they're trying to erode, it's not tenable. You can't have men in women's prisons without generating backlash. You can't have men participating in women's sports without creating backlash.
Yeah.
Every time that you have one of these stories of a child who was harmed by dogmatic gender specialists, that creates backlash. And at some point, that backlash is going to, it creates pressure. At some point, that backlash is going to explode. I think we're really close to the explosion point.
But I think that there are people that, there are people that are going to want to tar and feather, people such as us. But I do think that there are also very reasonable people that know exactly that there are reasonable voices, such as hopefully ours, in this whole conversation as well. Because I saw something yesterday. A drag queen put out a video. I saw it on Gab, and saying that this is not for children. I mean,
Yeah, that was made a couple of years ago. That video.
Was it? So.
And as you see, that video was made when the Drag Queen Story Hour first started. So that video is pretty old now, and you see that it has not done anything to stop the progression of those types of events.
Yeah, have you seen the stuff with kids in strip shows and trans clubs and tranny story time?
And that's creating backlash also. And there's something that, if you're trans and listening to this, this shit is going to blow back on us. Would you please stop it? And the people who are pursuing this feel very justified, saying, "Well, society should accept this. Society should accept this. Accept. Validate. And I'm really sorry to tell you this, but the people, particularly parents, right? It's I think we're going to get to a point where you talk about the different groups that are political groups, like women or educated people or Jews or those sorts of things. I think that the political group that's really going to dominate the next phase of Western politics are parents. Because I think it's going to be really easy for parents who have Democratic households and parents who have Republican households to find a lot of common ground, because it's really apparent that a lot of these extremely progressive social changes are all about trying to reprogram kids. And the more that that's becoming evident, the more proof that we're seeing, I think parents are going to say, hey, look, all of these other issues we can disagree about, but we have to protect the kids first.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what's going on in America. You can find, parents are getting together and they are standing for election and replacing school boards. Because it's the school boards are financially incentivized to get this material into the libraries. And it's really interesting because I've seen quite a few examples of parents in school board meetings reading the material that their minor children are being exposed to, and then the school board stopping them reading it because it's obscene. saying they don't
Yeah.
want to hear it. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. I
Yep.
mean, it's crazy. But that kind
So
of thing, you know, it's like you say, there is going to be an uprising of sanity. Well,
I
you
don't
know,
I don't know that sanity is even the right word.
what do you think it is?
I I,
An overreaction.
I don't even know if it's going to be overreaction. I wouldn't call it sanity, but we're always struggling to have to reinforce a certain portion of our social values and to reassess
Yeah.
and update some other portion, and it's always up for debate which parts are which parts. But I
Yeah.
think that we are on the cusp of an extremely, you've got people like Marine Le Pen who have nearly grasped the reins of power in Europe, right? That was extremely narrow, and she's quite socially reactionary.
She is. But the reason that someone like her gets so many votes is because of the reality of the state of the country. If the country wasn't in such a state, she wouldn't even have a chance. So the thing is,
Well, right, right,
yeah,
but that's going to be everywhere.
yeah, it is. What's happening is that I think the next 6 months, 18 months, 6 to 18 months, is going to see some huge. Oh, you frozen? Huge changes. But yeah, I think we've just been socially engineered over such a long period of time. People don't even know which way is up anymore. So they're just reverting back. Christianity is seeing there's a huge increase of people coming back to Christianity and the Christian values because it seems to
Is there?
be not just a place of refuge, but a place of stability. You know, away from tranny story time and all the rest of the toxic stuff on the kids are exposed to. But it seems to be like this overt, relentless push to sexualize children and to trivialize human experience and to make everything superficial and it's just this to encourage people to live in this solipsistic state of their own needs and
Right.
feelings being absolutely primary, and it's just creates instability. But I always come back to the interview that Yuri Bezmenov gave with G. Edward Griffin, I think in the 80s. He was a KGB defector in the 80s. And he said that basically, I think he said like 90% of the KGB's work, I'm not saying Russia's behind any of this or anything like that, but he said that 90% of what they used to do would be to demoralize and destabilize countries by educating people and creating social movements that destabilize the cohesion of whatever culture was there. And he said America is the last free country on the planet, and you will see a time where gradually there will be a demoralization of the minds of the young through the universities, and then it will get to the point where you will be able to show people the evidence of what's being done, and they will just deny it, and they'll just say no, it's not true. And now we have exactly that situation where it's insane. It's insane. People don't even know what's real anymore.
Yeah.
A man thinks he's a woman, for God's sake. Not that I ever did, I don't think. It's just insane.
Yeah, and I don't think it's very good that so much of these, like the role that social media plays in reinforcing all of this.
Yeah, and
Because it's one thing if you're testing your values between people who can reach out and punch you in the nose. It's another thing if you're testing and reinforcing your values on your device, and you can block anybody who challenges your thinking,
yeah,
and everybody who reinforces it. You subscribe to their feeds so that you can keep getting a stream of it.
yeah, yeah.
And you're constantly having enforcement of your beliefs and values, and you're constantly insulating yourself against anything that will challenge it. I don't think that's healthy. But if you are watching, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications.
God, you know what? I've never said that.
That's
Yeah, I
why
think
that's why your channel growth isn't very good, Sam. And you changed
yeah,
the name of it too, so now everybody's going to have a hard time finding it.
they won't. I got more
You just
views. No, I got more
no
views since I
I
changed the
don't
name.
no you need a social media manager.
But that's why it was different. It was different in our day because you just had to. It was different in our day. No, because it's. Somebody said I got an email from a young male transitioner, 23, I think she was. He, she. God, it's confusing, isn't it? They were 23 and passing with a boyfriend, and they said, "We are gracious guests in female spaces. Even when we pass, we are gracious guests." And I think that's how I've always felt. Is just this. This has never felt normal. It's not normal. It's not. It's something abnormal. It's something. I don't know. It's and to have an expectation that other people are going to normalize something that's disruptive, I think is what's disruptive. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because what you're hoping for is that we're talking about the hierarchies again, right?
Yeah.
These implicit social hierarchies. You're hoping that you can make an appeal to the top of the hierarchy, which is a very small number of people, to influence or insist that everybody follow along. So that's why when you've got a group of midwives whose only purpose is in the world to attend to women. I should say only professional purpose, because they probably do other things like laundry or cook.
You're so
I'm
dry.
just
You're
thinking
so
like
dry.
daily chores, right?
I didn't even know that was a joke at first.
Oh, I didn't either. I was just thinking, I didn't want to characterize that if you're a midwife that there's nothing else that you're doing. Like maybe you
You weren't joking.
run an international corporation too. Well, I don't know. I don't want to make it sound like that if you're a midwife that you only have one purpose, because that's what I said, and I should say you only have one professional purpose, which is to assist women. But then if you're one of these activists and you want to do something like create ambiguity about even what a woman is, you go to the leadership of this organization and you say, wouldn't you like to be more inclusive of all identities? And even if all of the members of that organization recoil in horror, all you need to do is appeal to the top echelon of the hierarchy and make sure that they are committed to removing any members who challenge the new dogma.
But there's a
and that's what they're
backlash
doing.
now. There's a backlash now. I saw something yesterday. The CEO of Kraken, which is a cryptocurrency exchange, he said he's basically incentivized the people who are woke, who are seeking to change the structure of the company. He said, "I will give you 4 months. I think it was 4 months pay leave, and if you don't want to leave," he said. I think he said about 90 people have left. Might be 90. I can't remember the numbers, but he said that the ones that they're staying, they will just manage them out eventually, and so people just don't want it. It's not. It gets in the way of productivity. Our productivity is being impeded by legislation that sort of corrals human behaviour, and sort of when you legislate for people's compliance, it's people, you're going to get pushback.
Did you hear Bill Maher's latest monologue?
Oh, I saw something. What did he say?
he was making fun of I don't know if it was millennials or Generation Z, but he was making the point that these people come into these companies with a very strong sense of entitlement, and that instead of focusing on getting their work done, they become very wrapped up in trying to make sure that all of the different aspects of their identity are catered to and met. And that the reason that you can't replace the existing baby boomers or even the Gen X managers, the reason you can't replace that layer of management yet is that you can't have people who have such a solipsistic mindset, who are so worried about their treatment, their own treatment, their own personal treatment. You can't put those people into leadership roles, because leaders have to have a lot wider set of concerns. They have to care about all of the people. They can't just care about the people who want special treatment. And if you're one of those people who's very wrapped up in wanting special treatment, then all you get is strife. And he was talking about these organizations that can't really keep themselves held together anymore because the people involved leading them are just completely they can't have that mindset of how to keep everybody together.
It just cripples productivity. And
I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, well, you're doing a better job of explaining it than I did. I'm going to watch this video back. I'm not going to watch it back, actually. I'm just going to do an intro and publish it, because if I watch it back, I will want to cut out all my ridiculous tripping over my words and incoherence, and I will cringe. So I'm not even going to watch this. I'm just going to publish it.
That's not what I want you to do, though, Sam. What I want you to do is, when I start explaining what Bill Maher was talking about, I want you to keep my lips moving, but I want you to just put his monologue over it. Probably nobody will notice, but it will sound coherent.
You're very coherent. I think that's why I still feel really self-conscious, because I just, I just am aware of my incoherence. Each video that I publish is one of 100 attempts. It's the only coherent one. That's my secret.
It's not a secret. You start every single one of your videos.
Do I?
Every introduction, you're never going to be like, here's what we're going to talk about today.
I just go, I have tried to make this video so many times.
Yes. I keep playing it back and watching it and deleting it and can't stand it.
No, it's because I don't do that every time, I don't think, but it is, how dare you? It's like, my mind is just...
Leave a comment below if I'm right. I am. Leave a comment.
Don't you dare! Otherwise, I'll just block you from my channel. No, I know. I think I am in this little bubble of safety on my channel with my subscribers, who are very lovely to me, because they don't say things like you just said. They just let me do my thing and hopefully it gets somewhere in the end. But I think this is like, if I watch this back, I'll be horrified that the real me is visible, which is someone who laughs a lot and smiles too much and has a very funny face and is quite incoherent a lot of the time, but it's trying to say something meaningful. But look, you know what? It's really lovely to talk to somebody. I haven't talked to anyone but myself for quite a while, walking in the hills, and so it's nice to talk to someone. It's always good to talk to you. So I do have lots of. I've been writing things down for the last couple of days. I think. To get back to a more personal question, what how do you feel about, exploring, just that simple act of exploring, presenting yourself in a more masculine manner, do you think that will there be an emergence of unseen, unfelt feelings? And what do you think?
Well, so you'd written that question
Unanticipated.
down before I told you that I've
Here we
been
go.
experimenting with that a bit, right? So
Yeah.
uh, one of the times that I was wearing my snazzy new outfit, I was waiting for some other event to start, so I'd gone to a bar that was next door to have a beer, have a pint while I was waiting. And there was a group of men sitting at the bar as well who were watching a soccer game or football game, I guess, which I could not care any
Yeah.
less about. Uh,
Me too.
like, and I was watching them
You look
going,
like you're in pain.
like it's such
Yeah.
a bro thing, or I guess a blokey thing, right? I
Yeah.
don't know. In America, I guess we'd call it a bro
Bro.
thing.
Yeah.
To go to a bar and watch a football game while drinking beer, and it was like a pack of them. I don't know what they were doing. They were sitting there together. They weren't even talking with each other. They were just like watching stuff and like slapping each other when something exciting happened. And I was presenting however I was presenting, and just drinking a beer and reading a book, 2 or 3 seats down from them. And no matter what ever happens, if I try to become more outwardly male identified or however masculinized, I'm never going to be at a
No.
sports bar slapping bros on the back and drinking beer and cheering when, my goalie stops a drive, right? I don't
I
know if
don't
they're
know the
called
correct
drive.
terminology. I'm
Yeah,
not. I'm not. I'm not sure that's the correct terminology.
I know it's a goalie. I know it's a goalie, but
Drive.
I don't know. In football, it would be
I don't
called
know
drive.
either. But listen, you just said something. You just said something really important. I think one of many things that are really important that have come out of your mouth in this conversation. I should add. We are different. Like I'm not. I, there is no going back, and there is also no. We're never gonna integrate. Even if I get my breast removed and
Well, you and me.
well, yeah, just you and me. No, I mean people such as ourselves. Like if you dress like if you dress like a guy, if you dress really like a guy, I look more like a woman when I dress completely like a guy. I look like a skinny man who walks a bit funny and carries himself in a bit of a strange way and moves in a strange way because all of that changes because your relationship to space changes when your body changes shape and you have different vulnerabilities, different sensitivities. You move in a different way. You relate to people in a different way. It's a physical thing. It's not only is it an energy thing, it's a behavioral thing. So just because you dress differently, I think that becomes more conspicuous because you're like, that's a funny looking guy over there. What? Look at Walt Heyer. Bless you, Walt. He still looks like a woman. I think. I mean, he was on hormones a fraction of the time that you and I have been on hormones. He still looks like a woman. So, like earlier on, we said you don't want to. I said no. I think you made a point that to move into for those younger people who are detransitioning in whatever way that they see works for them. Detransition should be kind of like a staging post in a way to integration. But I think there's very few people that can ever completely detransition. Even if you've only been on hormones for 5 years or 3 years and you've had minor surgery, I don't think you can. because it changes you, so you can't undo it in any way at all. I don't think, whether you're male or female, it needs to be integrated and
that sounds
made a
a
part of
bit
you.
pessimistic.
Well,
I
is it
think
pessimistic? Why is it pessimistic? Why can't you just see the benefit of what you've been through and just say, okay, here I am now, and
oh, I see. Okay. Do you mind if I speak back to you what I think I heard you say now that I think I
sure,
understand it better?
yeah, sure,
So I would say that you can detransition, but you're always going to carry,
yeah.
your body's always going to carry some of the evidence of what you've been through.
Well, not only your body, but your mind, your
Right, right. Your history is always going to include that part.
I'm going to read
And
you
it's
something.
okay.
This book.
All right.
I'm not going to read the whole thing. Don't worry.
No, I was worried that you're going to read me the iTunes terms and conditions.
God, no. Yeah, this book. If you've seen my videos, you know that I love the work of David White. This book
All right.
is one of his, I think, his best work in a way, because it's the solace, nourishment, and underlying meaning of everyday words. And it gives you an entry into his poetry, because he uses language in a different way. And so simple words, he goes through so many words in this book. I think it's 50 or 60. And he starts with alone, ambition, anger, beauty, courage, crisis, denial, despair, haunted, joy, loneliness, longing, hiding, which is a good one. I was going to read from that in the last video. But today I was reading this, and maturity. I'm just going to read you a few sentences from maturity.
Let's do it.
Okay. So maturity is the ability to live fully and equally in multiple contexts. Most especially the ability, despite our many griefs and losses, to courageously inhabit the past, the present and the future all at once. The wisdom that comes from maturity is recognized through a disciplined refusal to choose between or isolate three powerful dynamics that form human identity: what has happened, what only looks as if it is happening, and what is about to occur. So it's like you can't, we carry it all within us, the potentiality for the future. Our relationship to the past is ever changing as well. My journey through my channel has shown me that, just how trapped I've been in this childlike relationship to trauma and defining experiences. And, we're carrying everything with us all the time. And it's how we carry that, the value that we gain from all of our experiences, whether they're harrowing or uplifting or transformative. It's not assessing whether it's negative or positive is kind of like a matter of perspective, and that perspective is going to change.
I think sometimes some of those things in the past, though, are like scars that you keep picking out.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I know too well that. I mean, I've been picking at them publicly for a year and a half. But yeah, I know that. But we have to forgive. That's the transformative act, is forgiveness. Because
Of self.
No.
Of other people.
Absolutely, both.
Both.
And forgiveness brings us closer to those people and appreciates their perspective. Nobody causes pain purposefully, apart from a psychopath. Nobody causes pain purposefully. They are passing on pain that they are feeling themselves. And to understand that and to forgive those people that have wounded us so badly is the transformative act. Because I can now appreciate that we are in some kind of relationship entangled over time. And if I forgive myself, I forgive them, I release myself from that relationship. And forgiveness is just, you can't carry it with you. If you forgive, you transform it into, like Rumi says, I say this in many videos, the wound is where the light enters. Release yourself from that wound. turn it into something positive. That's that's our life, is this journey of transmutation. I know it's hard.
Forgive me for saying so, but I'm gonna have to get going here in a few minutes.
We're just getting somewhere.
We are, but we've been chatting for almost an hour and a half,
Okay.
and there's a few things I need to get about doing for the day.
Okay. It's
Still
not because
early here.
of what we're talking about, is it?
Not at all, not at all. But so I apologize. If I could set like a 10-minute, let's try to end 10 minutes from here.
Okay. I'm not going to cut this out. I'll leave it. Do you want me to cut all that out?
No, it doesn't matter. Somebody
Yeah.
can fast forward.
I'll put a timestamp for waffle. No.
That's easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Forgiveness is a big one. But I thought, you shared some really incredible revelations. I'm so fascinated by you exploring, presenting in a different way, and yeah, I think it is trivial, but it means something. Obviously, means something. Otherwise we wouldn't do it, and it wouldn't feel so important.
Yeah, I will say I felt really silly.
Do you?
Yeah, when I was doing that, I felt pretty silly.
In what sense?
I was deliberately trying to put on a costume to create a certain effect.
Yeah, I'd done that for quite a while.
Yeah.
I did that for quite a while.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to try to butch it up a little bit here, try to dude it up and look a little more doodly.
What made you do that?
What made me do that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what it means what detransition means. So I'm doing it through an exploratory, experimental process.
For your own detransition?
So these are experiments.
For your own detransition?
Well, I don't, like I said, I'm trying to even work out the meaning of detransition. That's what we started with this conversation with.
Yeah.
So, to reiterate a point I made, I'm so often wearing unisex clothing that often a mix of men's clothing and women's clothing that what for this experiment, what social signals do I have to really project for this to be considered me going out socially as a man?
Yeah.
Like what do I have to do? Do I have to cut all my hair off? Hopefully not.
It's funny. I mean, even in the middle of winter, I've got a hat on. People can literally just see that part of me. I still get read as a woman. People still call me she, even though I'm 6'3".
You've had FFS.
Yeah, but I mean, so the thing is, I'm not.
I still have,
But I'm not. Even before I've spoken, before I've even that happened. So it's like, I think for me the important thing is not to trick anybody. But even if at some point we kind of like grew into the role of even in the most minimal way performing femininity, or exaggerating it a little bit. I've recently had a couple of calls with a young trans woman in America. She's 24. Passes. Even though she passed it, she's had FFS. She's had everything apart from the main operation, and even she says she performs a little bit. She exaggerates voice and things like that and mannerisms when you're sort of trying to be read a certain way. But it's like we all perform a little bit. That's what. But if you've been doing it for 25 years, 30 years, or whatever, is it still a performance just to kind of move in a certain way? It's I think that the important thing is just not to deceive anyone and just to be as honest as possible. And but it's a complicated situation. I don't think there's any kind of like clear sort of path for us. Is there? I mean, do you see one?
No, that's except for the ultimate rest that you described earlier. I don't think that there's any other clarity.
Death. Everything's a preparation for death. I think the manner that we live our lives. So that the important thing for me is not to trick anybody, not to deceive anybody, including myself. Not to hold on to anything for solace just because it feels comfortable. I like how men treat me. I like how women treat me. And I don't want to be treated as a man, but I am a man. So
Well, so one way of looking at it is that you've always been a man,
yeah, that's what I said.
and no matter how you're treated, you've always been treated as a man.
Yeah, but I haven't. I see your point, but I haven't. I've been treated in a different way. I know what it's like to be treated as a man because I was a man for, like, a good part of my 20s, and I know what
You,
that's
you
like.
were you were a masculine man.
Oh, I wasn't. I tried. I was terrible at it. Everybody, like, I was such a fraud, and people knew. I didn't fool anybody, I don't think. So, okay.
You would have fooled me.
Really? Are you,
I think so. Because
really?
I say that on the basis that I've never met a man who I thought was just, um, I've met some really insecure men, but I've never met a man who I would ever want to test their bravado.
What do you think I would have fooled you? Why do you say that?
Oh, what I just said is I've never met a man who I would doubt or want to test their bravado. So if you're acting
Oh, okay, I get you.
macho,
Oh
and
God,
even if you thought it was just an act, I would just not want to
yeah.
test it at all.
God, you break my heart sometimes. You do, like we've talked fairly often over the last year or two. You do, you break my heart.
Why? That seems so innocuous to me.
Because there's a fear there. Some of the things you say, there's a fear there, and it makes me want to give you a big hug and be there with like anyone's ever. Like, I want to go out with you and show that I don't know. I just
Men are dangerous.
they can be carry a
Yeah.
weapon. You got a gun license, haven't you?
I'm gonna put myself in situations where I've got to draw on someone because I feel threatened. I don't want to shoot somebody.
Yeah, I mean, men can be dangerous. Men can be dangerous, but they can
I'll
also be
tell you. You want
lovely.
to hear a story?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. This is a crazy story, and then I think I have to go.
Okay.
So here's a crazy story. I have my mom's brother, who I'll just not name him. Everybody in my family, anyone who watched this would know who he is. Was injured from doing work for the company business, right? So he was injured in the line of trying to keep the company business afloat. And instead of getting proper care, he started self-medicating. And on this slippery slope of self-medication, he started taking methamphetamines.
Pain management.
Yeah, for not just pain management, but to keep going, so that
Right.
he wasn't just sitting trying to recuperate, but to keep the shop going.
Right.
So I don't know if you know anybody who's ever taken methamphetamines. I don't know if you've ever taken methamphetamines.
I haven't, but I know people that have.
Yeah, you know that anybody who takes methamphetamines habitually, their personality changes drastically,
Yeah, and they get nerve damage stuff.
and their behavior is more spontaneous and more uncontrolled. They lose the perspective on how to comport themselves civilly.
Yeah, propriety.
Absolutely. And there was one time that I knew that he had been taking meth, and there was a conversation I had to go have with him, and I didn't feel comfortable with what the topic of the conversation was going to be. Because it was going to be something that was confrontational and fraught, and I don't even remember what it was. And I hid a gun. I hid a revolver in my pocket when I went to go talk to him. Because he is a strong, compact, strong guy still. And I was terrified that if the conversation went wrong, that he would switch to a physical mode of interaction.
But it went okay.
It went okay, but even dealing with a family member who was a very tough and strong guy, I felt like I had to arm myself for a particularly fraught conversation, because I knew that he was using drugs that could make him unstable and could flip him over into violence.
I think that was a reasonable decision on your part. Yeah, I mean, I knew. Sorry, we'll end in a sec. I'll just wrap this up. I mean, I knew fear when I was fully male. When I was an intact male, of course, I'm still fully male. I'm just a bit different. But when I was an intact male, I knew fear of men in a different way. I mean, when you change, there's a vulnerability to it that's very different. I think maybe it's because there's a threat of sexual violence as well, and disgust. Some men can be disgusted and feel tricked, and then I read a stat years ago that transsexuals that are murdered, their murders are always overkill. It's like, stabbed 50 times, set on fire and beaten to death and that kind of thing. It's never just kind of, dispatched quickly. It's always overkill. But that's the danger of the deception. That's the danger of the deception. Yeah, it's a big mess. Oh, what a horrible note to finish on. But okay, you have to go, so I'm going to guilt you.
Sorry.
Now.
How about something a pleasant final note?
Yeah, let's have a pleasant final note. Let me see if I can find a lovely question.
How about what is today? Today's June 19th.
Is it?
Maya.
Yeah.
Let's make a pledge
Sam,
to one another.
You just dead named me.
Oh fuck.
You dead named me. I'm traumatized.
I'm gonna go make a donation to the what's the opposite of mermaids? There's got to be a foundation.
He-Man.
He-Man. I'm gonna go make a donation.
He-Man Foundation. Listen, okay, I have got a question after this. Just one more question. You go. Make your point. I probably interrupted you now. I interrupted you.
No. Go. Oh, no. Let me finish.
What's your point?
All right. Today's June 19th. Let's pledge to one another, Sam, that we will meet in person before another year has passed.
Yeah. I listen. My plan is to go to America. I want to spend 6 months in America. But yeah, I mean, I'm. As soon as the dog goes, I'll be travelling for the foreseeable future. But listen,
then we've made that pledge then.
Okay, my question.
Yeah, but you didn't pledge to me.
Oh, I pledge.
All right. Go
Scouts
on.
on dib dib dib.
Yes, all right.
Dib 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 dob 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 is what the Scouts used to say in this country. I don't know. They have a funny. I was never a Scout.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. What was I going to say? Okay.
Yeah.
You said to me ages ago. This is the final question. You said to me ages ago. I think it was like 6 months ago when I first sort of reached that point and just went, "Oh my God, I'm a man." Not only am I a man, but I'm okay with being a man. And that was the beginning of this kind of like gradual. It takes me ages and ages and ages to finally go, "Oh, okay, yeah, right, yeah, I get it now." So I say something months and months and months ago, and then I wake up one morning and I just say it to myself again, and I go, "Oh yeah, God, yeah, right. It's now in here. It's internalized in some way, and I've now become different in some way." So you said to me that, what you thought I'd been going through was ego death in a way. And it's like you think it would benefit a lot of transsexuals to go through the same thing, and it's kind of, I think there is that danger of having this disproportionate investment in perception, how you're perceived, and then sort of like that becoming this kind of requirement, and it's so fragile. And then getting that into proper proportion is essential, because it's not really ego death. We all have an ego, but it's having it in proper proportion, which is the important thing. But did you ever go through? Were you ever sort of like a grotesque performance of trans women, Corinna?
Me? No, I don't think so. And the reason for that is that my social acuity is pretty low. And I didn't have enough confidence in my mimicry to go to really grotesque levels.
Oh, I did.
So you're talking about like
fully
over the top stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I was grotesque.
No, I don't think I've ever done anything like. I don't think I've ever worn a cocktail dress in public.
I had full
certainly
head
not a ball gown.
I had full head extensions.
Yeah.
Always heels like this. I'd go out. Sometimes I'd go out. Sometimes I'd go out in a bikini to a club, like a.
Yeah. Wow. I've never done anything like that.
Yeah, it was a certain type of club though. Okay.
The closest thing is I enjoy going to the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah.
But everybody's going in a costume, so going in a costume's like just going in a costume.
That sounds such fun though. I love that idea. Okay.
Did I mention to you before that the very last time I went to the Renaissance Festival, I had put together a men's ensemble?
Oh yeah, you said. How did it go?
Yeah, it was fine.
So you've been toying with this. You've been gender bending for a little bit.
I have. I've been transgressing gender norms. That's right.
That's interesting. I shall bill this as Corinna Cohn's coming out, and I'll put something in.
Yeah, you can spell my name Cori and let people go. They won't. They'll just.
It's a nice name. It's a lovely name.
I'll pass that on to my mom. She'll appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. It's been really lovely. Sorry for my interruptions and my ramblings and my incoherence and my enthusiasm. It's just so nice to talk to somebody else other than my mum. Bless my mum, but or myself, who I talk to frequently. I don't even listen to myself anymore. Okay. Corinna, it's been lovely.
All right. Absolutely. Same with you, Sam. Be well.
See you soon.
Bye.
Okay, bye.